Tender Strands by Martin Dempsey. Chapter 19. Spirals. I awake in my nest, bundles of dry grass around me, and gaze up at the sky. It's clear but greyish, suggesting a possible light sprinkle of rain later. The night was quiet, the ever-present light drone and swish of air I'm used to, punctuated with the occasional honk of creatures I've never seen. I reach for one of the several ropes which attach the top of my favourite place to sleep, and swing out smoothly and slowly, passing hand over hand to the nearest pole, and rest my feet on it, my lengthened toes gripping it. A coo, and some clatter behind me, which I turn to locate. Some people have already formed a small cluster at the rim of the cavern that I've been in for at least the most recent stretch of my memory. It's early for them, but not unexpected. The largest clusters and crowds usually occur as the sun appears directly above them, which usually indicates that food will appear in the indentations along the ravine's walls. Sometimes the feeders also appear, their brown garments marking them out from the others, and they offer the crowd items of food to cast into the floor of the enclosure. I won't always fetch and eat them, for they often smell of the hands of those who cast them, as well as water and an acrid flavour I instinctively distrust. The food in the indentations often has that aspect, but after a few changes in the clouds and the position of the sun, or even a whole day and night cycle or a sprinkle of rain, it smells just of food and of the cavern, which I trust more. The small cluster consists of a female, a male, and an infant. The male is holding the infant to allow it to see over the lip of the rock face, its hands pressed up against the smooth, transparent, flavourless section of the wall. Their faces indicate delight at seeing me, and I don't seem to present any threat, so I return the gaze for a while before shifting my weight and swinging a little nearer. Their coos and chatter increases. As the day wears on, I tend to tire of the noises and the faces and the constant attempts to catch my eye, but I feel fresh, and I often feel the urge to dwell on the faces of the healthy children. Something about their faces and their expressions resonates deeply within me. The female's chatter includes the sound Bernie, and I flicker my eyes up before I can catch myself. I've learned that this sound is a bid for attention, but if I grant it too easily, the petitions simply become more frequent and nagging. The child immediately echoes the sound excitedly, as if requesting aid or intervention. I couldn't reach them even if I tried, and in my youth I did frequently. I've learned that even turning in the direction can lead the petitions to end, or can just as frequently raise them to a fever pitch. Those I've come to think of as Bernies, the ones who seem to repeat it endlessly, usually bring me food and occasionally seek to alter the layout of my cavern, and on rare occasions to groom me, but their interventions appear to be less and less frequent, though wide aware of the changes to occur. I swing off the post and climb closer to the cluster of watchers. The child shrieks and the voices of happy chirps and gasps fill my ear. I shift my weight to one hand and hang upside down, taking hold of the rope with my feet and climb closer, just to get to see the child's face clearer. It's a female, and the delighted round muscles of her cheeks pronounced with a smile, gleaming white teeth and bared in a friendship gesture, one hand reach out and splayed. I get closer and swing, pulling on the rope so that I arc upwards and stretch my leg to touch my own foot to the transparent floor, which feels cool and slick under my pads. For a moment, it seems as if our limbs will touch, but the wall blocks them, and the pull of the earth swings me back down. The child shrieks and chatters Bernie a few more times. I allow my weight to spin me so our eyes gaze into one another's, and we hold eye contact. Hers are dark pools with clear white. The male and female gasp, and the female holds her child perfectly still. The child also seems to freeze, her face changing from delight to open-mouthed wonder. I reach and touch the glass again with my hand, and feel a sprinkle of rain. I allow the spin of my weight to turn me back round towards the centre of the enclosure. The cluster of people coo and repeat Bernie along with chatter, in lower tones a few chimes as I climb back towards my nest. I don't wish to get damp this early in the day, as my shaggy long hair can become cold and clingy. It is colder than it's been for a while, and it seems to be getting progressively colder as the days shorten. I spend most of the day in my nest, watching the soft drizzle thicken into full rain. The passers-by at the edge of my ravine are now covered in reflective sheets, and some hold up what I guess to be black leaves on sticks. When I go to the indentations for food, washed clean of the scent of human hands, and freed from the acrid aftertaste, I too use a large palm leaf to cover my head. On a couple of occasions, I decide to stretch out my body and make a quick traversal of my whole ravine, swinging from rope to rope, from pole to rope, to kick off the cliff face and turn and swing back. The small number of people coo and cry Bernie, and some even clap their hands together. As the red-tinted sun starts to dip beyond the edge of the farthest part of where I can see outside of my ravine, I notice a small scuffle. Two people at the edge of the transparent section of the wall are making aggressive noises. Quietly enough, although the tone is clear, then louder and louder, prompt me to turn and tilt my head out of my nest to watch. They are both male, but neither has the grey hair or cheek pouches of the leader. One pushes the other and bares his teeth, and they swing their arms at each other, and I realize I am watching a dominance competition of some kind and move to get a better view. Then a feeder runs into the view and is immediately swung at in turn. I feel the urge to make it clear that the ravine is mine, and that the feeders are at the very least permitted to enter it due to their gifts of food, and I swing out of my nest. Another feeder appears, reaching out with his hands to appear to stifle the swinging of the two contestants. Then another feeder runs over. The feeders group is now larger than the contestants, and they start to pacify. The winner of the contest isn't clear. Perhaps it was interrupted by the feeders, or the goal was to attract the feeders. The feeders now surround the contestants, who have their backs to me. Instinctively I dislike that, and the urge to swing over and demand that both their attention and their acknowledged bounds in my ravine grows. Another feeder appears, one of those with a slightly different colour and arrangement of garments. The posture and attitudes of the other feeders change. Before they seem to be asserting dominance through the tone of their voice and gestures, now they seem to become subdued and make space for the other, who's seen and heard. The contestants also seem to be impressed and become even more docile, their bodies compacting down to take up less room, their heads tilted, their voices lower. The new authoritative feeder jabs with an extended figure at the contestants multiple times, then after a brief pause slightly turns, no doubt to show his back and emphasize a lack of respect. As he does so, other feeders also turn in unison, but the contestants remain backed in against the transparent edge of my ravine. The urge to bellow, to emphasize that no matter the regard the new feeder is held in by these others, that this is my area, my home, my domain, and they are on the edge of it, and become strong enough to act on, I swing towards them. One of the contestants makes a quick gesture, casting his arm into the air, and something sails up and over the lip of the transparent section of the wall and down into my home. My curiosity rises now to mingle with my growing sense of indignation. Is this a placation? Feeders, after all, have won my acceptance with their frequent entrance into my area to replace the grass of my nest or to lift and reaffix a rope which I have yanked free. I swing over silently. It's a transparent pocket of some kind, filled with a plant I have never seen before. Thick green and brown coils of insect leg-shaped foliage. As I pull the pocket open to sniff at the earthy, pungent aroma, I notice a cluster of people is moving away from their vantage point over my ravine, the contestants being led, the feeder guiding them with hands on shoulders. It is an offering, then. I put my hand in and take a fistful, raising the root to my lips. It is sweet and soft and very slightly juicy, with a bitter aftertaste of seed. My lips tingle slightly, but not in an unpleasing way, and I take a second fistful, which nearly empties the pocket. A few scraps remaining I shake out, and throw the transparent leaf-like pocket aside. Chewing and chasing the stray bits of root around my gums with my tongue, I make my way to my nest. As the light around my ravine dim, and the sunlight is slowly replaced by stars, I start to feel heady and giddy. Unusually for me, I feel the urge to swing slowly around my home and marvel at the feeling of the rope between my fingers. I pause to lie down in the long grass and stretch out, filling my lungs with its aroma. The soft drone I hear of the wind being pushed against in the distance starts to sound more like lapping of some great body of water. The sound beneath me seems to pulse and pitch, and despite my eyes telling me I am laying stationary, my other senses seem to tell me I am spinning and sliding. I feel the urge to close my eyes and release my grip on consciousness. As I lower my lids and the scenery around me goes hazy, I notice movement along the rim of my ravine. I open my eyes fully without haste to check what it was. I expected to see one of the feeders out late, or one of the nests which the feeder seemed to push around from inside. Then I see movement again, and I realize it's something moving like I do, something using all of its limbs to traverse with, but slower and more rhythmically, almost like a large... It's crawling over the edge of my ravine. It's invading my space without my permission. This immediately arouses me, and anger flares inside me. No show of respect, no gifts of food, or pausing to receive my assessment. It moves swiftly without pausing to look for grips or roots to climb down the ravine wall. I catch its scent. It smells like one of the feeders, or the crowds when the wind blows past their scent over the edge of the wall with something extra I can't place. There is also the scent of damp hair, something acrid, which heightens my feeling of having my space invaded. I rise and bare my teeth, my fists clenching. I punch the ground with my right fist, and the creature pauses, a leg frozen in midair. In the darkness, I notice that I can see that its eyes with whites that reveal it's looking at me. Under the pair are jaws with sharp pointed fangs that unfurl and rub together. Then it breaks into a rapid scuttle towards me. I spring forwards, pounding my fists into the floor to propel me forwards. I leap at the same time, its legs unfolding under itself to meet me, jaws reaching out, glinting fangs pointing directly at me, eyes wide. My arms reach out to grab its head, my feet swing up and under me to grip its torso. We meet in midair, and my hands close with as much strength as I can draw on, and it hisses. The jaws can't reach my face despite flexing and reaching. My feet close around thick bristles, my knees pressing hard to prevent the many legs from closing around me. Its torso expands suddenly, and it hisses again, and a shower of sharp, painful, itchy bristles prickle into my eyes, lips, and nostrils. I clamp my face as shut as I can, and push hard away from myself with my feet, and wrench and wrist and twist with my hands. It makes a sickly shriek, and I feel something sharp break across my chest. I round my back and thrust my hips upwards, and we roll. I end up on top, several of its legs pressing against my chest and reaching for my armpits. I take the chance to raise an arm and to bring it down as hard as I can on the whites of its eyes. It makes a second high shrieked hiss, and I rise, and I raise, and I pound again. Its fangs reach and clutch towards me, but I pound again, and then again. Something wet now meets my knuckles as I hit, and one of my back feet closes around one of its legs, which seems to suddenly pop and twist as I kick my leg out to maintain balance. Without meaning to, I tear the end of one of his legs off, losing my purchase on it, and it bucks again, and we roll again, it landing on top of me. This time I have less grip and less contact, despite my free foot reaching and grasping for another leg. My own foot gets slick with liquid, and despite feeling wet bristles under my skin, I can't find purchase. I take a double grip around the base of its head and work my shoulder blades to move away from it. I can see my attacker has lost one of its eyes, and one of its fangs is hanging and pointing at an angle. A leg reaches up and presses hard against my shoulder. A second reaches for my thigh. I kick again and keep squirming backwards, wrenching my head again. As soon as I do, remaining functional fangs suddenly flicks out and jabs hard into my round belly. The pain makes me gasp and snarl. Then immediately the pain is replaced by a sickly, warm, tingly feeling. I kick again and pull away, the fangs slowly, stickily sliding out. I kick again, hitting it in the face, and it hisses and turns, scuttling with less speed and grace, but swiftly, towards and up and over the edge of my ravine. I slump back on the grass, gasping and snarling, breathing in deep lungful of air. After deep lungful of air, I feel I am wet and sickly with fluid. The tingling, numbing ache is getting worse, and it's starting to reach my limbs, my fingers, my lips, and soon encompasses my whole body. I turn my eyes to the moon, and once again I am struck by just how beautiful it is, how beautiful it has always been. Suddenly, I feel the urge to sleep again, and somehow I know that this will be the deepest I have ever known. Only the delight of the clear night sky and the glitter over the lights call me to keep my eyes open. It will be all right if I do let go. I am childless, and I have none of my own to care for in the morning. Dream Journal, September 5th. Sea and stormy sounds. Canis and cannabis, both faked together. 5 HTP, 2 doses, and SSRIs. Yoga session for 90 minutes. I dreamed I was a boy again, fishing for minnows in small pools at the beach. As I attempted to scoop one minnow in my toy net, it seemed to grow heavy and swell in size, so heavy and so large I couldn't lift it. In the same pool, the sea anemone opened up, and as it did so, the pebble it was attached to floated to the surface, and the sea anemone seemed to be so large it towered above me. I stepped back, and I heard a woman call my name. I turned, and a woman in the distance waved to me, beckoning me to come to mother. But she's not my mother. My hand is taken by that of an adult, wearing white dress gloves, and a man's voice says, "Playtime is over," but I don't feel safe and fight to get my hand free. I push past the man in the black suit who's taken my hand and run. I run as fast as I can, with the sun in my eyes. I run for my life towards the sun, along the beach, blinded by the light and my tears. When I get to the sun, I realize that it is not the sun.